I guess we're live. Hey, how's it going?
Hello.
Welcome to another typology interview. We have Elizabeth.
Hello.
Hey. So Elizabeth, why don't we start by maybe talking about your history in typology? And you were telling me you have an undergraduate degree in psychology already, and you're doing a master's?
Yeah. And actually, my history in typology started before I transitioned into psychology as an undergrad, because I actually started off as an engineering major.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and that didn't exactly go well. And
Okay.
because that didn't go well, I started questioning my own, I guess you could say my own self-worth. And there was a bit of self-loathing going on, and that's actually the reason why I got into typology in the first place. Because
Wow.
I figured there was something wrong with me. I just had no idea what it was. And I tried using the type that I thought I was back in MBTI land to essentially try to justify what was wrong, essentially.
Wow. Okay. So like this was before you transferred into psychology.
Yes.
I
That's
see.
actually how I got interested in psychology to begin with.
Oh, okay. And so
Like
like
I
what
had
were
a
your type?
I had a mild interest back in high school, but it was never enough to actually, you know, do anything substantial with it. So yeah, I think MBTI actually helped a little bit with that.
And so what was your type that you got from the beginning?
That's so funny when I say it out loud now, but INTP.
INTP. Okay.
Yeah. And I actually
Um,
tried to justify a little bit of my awkwardness and loneliness because of that type. And
right.
that's actually messed up to say. Sorry, INTPs, but
Right.
yeah, yeah, I tried
Because
justifying it like
you do
that.
you do seem more tribe above self based on what you were saying about the insecurities.
I mean, isn't everyone insecure to some
Um,
extent at some point?
maybe
Like
maybe.
anyone with a damaged sense of identity is going to have low self-esteem.
Okay. And
So no, not tribal self.
not tribe about self.
Mm-mm.
So the insecurities came from somewhere else then, like not from not feeling good enough.
Yeah, it came from not meeting my own standards, essentially.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
So you were okay, yeah. So that is self above tribe. That's
Mhm.
interesting. And like, did you know that before you were typed in OP
Yes.
or okay,
Actually, before OP, I knew I was lead consume.
okay.
Oh, I just gave
Interesting.
you. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, I already got basically
Okay, good.
yeah. I already figured that you're lead SE.
Mhm.
But I guess you're like okay, well we'll keep going. So
Okay.
so when you got into OP, you did it after you finished your undergrad?
Yes. I was
So
actually about to start my master's when I got into OP.
did you continue on your journey to self-typing, or did you think you were INTP the whole time, or
No, actually, by the time I got into OP, I was really questioning the INTP type, right?
right?
And I was actually starting to consider the idea of like including other people in the process of typing myself, like
Mhm.
essentially trying to ask other people for like input on my type, because I was just doing it alone for years, because I
Right.
figured I can figure myself out, right? But
Yeah.
then I started realizing that no, your own subjective experience, like of yourself, is only a part of your story, it's only a part of who you are. But you also have no idea what the outside world, how the outside world sees you. So you
Mhm.
have to get that missing information in order to, get the full picture of your type.
Right.
And it's so funny. As I was coming to that realization, like at around the same time, that's when I found OP. So if that's not serendipity, I don't know what is.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And so so what type did you get before you came into OP or when you were in OP? Did you change your type around?
Um, I mean, before OP, I was still kind of sort of thinking I was INTP.
Right.
But as I was waiting for my result in OP, I realized that I was actually an EP just from watching my video back that I submitted to them.
Right. Yeah.
And there was a tiny voice in my head because I realized that I was essentially freaking out over where things were going in my life, like demon intuition. But of course, that meant that I was lead SE, and oh my god, I did not want to be lead SE.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah,
Why
no.
why didn't you want to be lead SE?
Oh god, honestly, I guess the whole notion of just looking at the obvious firsthand instead of like going deeper right off the bat, like it might make us look kind of stupid. And
Okay.
there's this big insecurity in my mind, like, oh my God, I don't want to be stupid.
So yeah, I never thought of it that way, because SE is really, I think it's really smart to be SE, because you're getting all of your data from the real world. Like, you're not trusting the subjective experience of individuals. You're looking really at, like, do you see that in your SE, that you're like, you really
Yes.
need that real world data? You need things to be real. Like, they can't just be made up and invented.
Yeah, I totally see that. Like nowadays I can actually see I guess if you're saying my bias towards the sensory, like of course you're gonna gather the facts before you get the bigger picture. Otherwise, what is the big picture made of? Right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
like I can definitely see that bias in my SC. And
Right.
honestly, that's not a bad way to think about the world at all. Like it
Yeah.
actually helps you be a little bit more skeptical of like the bullshit that comes along
Exactly. Yeah. So
from
how
other
was that
people.
like when you were learning psychology, and coming up like Jung's theories, or
Um,
Freudian theories and stuff like that, that didn't really seem to correlate with reality? Was that like off-putting?
didn't seem to correlate with reality. Actually, the whole notion of the archetypes and how those archetypes manifested like across the cultures, that did seem real to me. Like
Okay.
that didn't seem like just some made up theory and someone else's pure imagination. Like that actually seemed like it came from the sensory, ironically.
Like, you already developed that sort of concept on your own, and it was just sort of matching what you've already developed.
Yeah, kind of like that was something that I had already seen, like even from my own childhood, just noticing that across all the religions, it seems like every god was the same god,
Okay.
essentially, if that makes any
Uh-huh.
sense. But yeah, Jung technically had a very similar idea, an even more developed version of that idea.
Right.
So
Yeah.
when I came across this theory, it made perfect sense to me.
So, but
Now,
so then, are there theories then that sort of are off-putting because they don't seem to correlate with reality, or you don't have enough data yet to
I
corroborate them?
actually don't have enough data on that. Yeah. Across my
Right.
25 years, I don't have enough data. There will never be enough data, honestly.
Oh, that's the way you feel as a SE.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh-huh. And so, as a consume first, what kind of things do you consume?
Huh. I mean, it's definitely a variety. Like I don't just consume a lot of things on one topic. I will consume to varying degrees of literally everything that I find interesting.
Right.
So it'll go from anywhere between honestly gossip. It's bad, but it ranges between that to like documentaries of the universe, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So is that SF then?
SF, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep, just
Um,
consuming literally anything that is interesting to me. And
right.
the funny thing is about the whole SE versus NE consume thing, I kind of see myself consuming the concepts as if they were sensory. Like, this might be a weird thing to say, but like, I consume the concepts by reading about them, and I consume like if someone is talking to me about any concept that they find interesting or that they're like developing in their own mind, I will listen to it as if it was just another story that I'm being told.
I'm questioning your use of language here, for interesting, because like I also, as a TI, I'm also interested in consuming things that are interesting, right? And I'm just curious as to your language use. When you say interesting, do you mean valuable, like things that have value to you, or
Hmm.
actually interesting?
Oh, what's the distinction?
There you go. Okay. So why don't you tell me?
I mean, I just don't really know what the distinction would be between interesting and valuable. Huh. That's actually interesting.
Okay.
Yeah,
Um,
I guess it's valuable to me, like that little distinction that you were making, just because it's new. It's a
okay.
new way of looking at the word interesting.
Right.
Huh.
Um,
Wait, that's actually really interesting. I never considered that. Huh.
okay.
Yeah.
Because for me as a TI user, I'm also looking for things that are interesting, but
But how do you determine what is interesting?
right, exactly. So for me, it's not value. It's not based on value.
Okay.
I wouldn't know what the distinction would be, but it also things that interest me, but that I'm not particularly interested in things that have value, if that makes any sense. It probably doesn't make sense because you have different functions.
I mean, I guess my natural assumption is that if it's interesting to me, then there's value. Like right off the bat. Even if it's not, even if it doesn't necessarily lift up my mood, or even if it doesn't necessarily affect my life in any direct way,
Uh-huh.
if I find the concept interesting, whatever that the word interesting means, I will pay attention to it. I will consume it.
Right.
But I don't know. Yeah, it's hard
So
to distinguish.
so I could find something not valuable and still be interested in it.
Hmm. The first thing that came to mind when you said that would be like different opinions, like
Okay.
someone's opinions about any particular topic that you don't agree with, that you think might even be stupid, but you still find them
Right.
interesting.
Uh-huh.
I
Yeah,
actually see some
also your
value to
language
that.
use there of stupid is interesting because that's like a very TE thing to
Yeah,
say. Right.
totally.
And so would that be like a masculine TE then?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Wait, how did you? Wait, how did you see the masculine thinking?
Um, just by the way you said the word stupid. Yeah. I've also have masculine thinking, so
Yeah, it's something to shove on. Yeah.
right. Okay. So then your FI, then you would see that as feminine? Like, is that something that's obvious to you?
Actually, before I before I came across OP, I had actually come across Enneagram and the Enneagram Type 9. And one of the things that is like a characteristic of Type 9 would be the fact that they don't have a solid sense of identity. Sorry. And when I came across that concept, it just deeply resonated with me.
Uh-huh.
Because ironically enough, I am responsible for knowing who I am, and yet who I am is not solid. So
Okay.
ironically enough, the one solid thing I had on my identity before OP was that I wasn't solid.
So I was also looking at your language use there, how you were gathering the concept, but
Hmm.
the concept resonated with you. That's why you gathered it. So
Yeah,
like it is the NI again. It's not the NE.
yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah,
Uh,
I'm not
um,
just gathering concepts willy-nilly, like
they
indiscriminately.
have to resonate with you, the concepts. They can't just be
Hmm.
disconnected.
Yeah.
Um, and so okay, so your movable sense of identity, what does that mean for you? Are you aware of your likes and dislikes, and the things you
Oh,
find
sure,
valuable? Yeah.
sure.
What
I'm aware of
what are
that.
some of the things you like?
What was that?
What are some of the things you like?
Some of the things I like.
Yeah.
I mean, I like animals. I like playing with children. I like watching YouTube videos all day, even though it's ruining my fucking life. But I like doing that. I like ruining my life.
Okay.
I'm just kidding. But yeah, what else do I like? I like the color red.
Okay,
I
yeah, you
like,
got FI. Wow.
yep,
Okay.
yep.
Wow. All right.
Oh, I'm sorry. Was that
No,
overwhelming?
no,
I
no,
like that it was overwhelming.
no, it's not overwhelming. It's just like, how do you do that? Yeah,
And it's so interesting to me that some people are not able to do that. That,
right.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
fascinating.
Um, okay, and so out of these likes, do they change from day to day? Are they something that some of these likes things that have been around since your early childhood? Or are they something that is just currently now in the moment that you like, that you
No,
value?
there are plenty of things that have stayed with me throughout my childhood.
Right. And if someone challenges you on those likes, what would that do?
Mm,
Like, why do you like red? What's wrong with you? Sort of thing.
I just find that
Or
stupid. I just
okay.
find that like it's such a stupid thing to argue someone on. Like, dude, of all the things that you could argue on, why would you argue on my sense of identity?
Right. So then
That
the
is
mask.
that's strange to
So
me.
you do see that as a sense of identity, and I see that masculine T come out and fight to protect your sense of
Yeah,
identity because
yeah.
it's like stupid. Don't say that. You're stupid. And like that's the
Because it is
masculine.
stupid.
Well, that's the defense mechanism, right? Yeah. And
Yeah.
see, like for me, if someone were to say, like it's why do you like red? It's such a silly thing to write. Like, I'd be like, oh, okay, whatever. Like it's not my sense of identity what I like, and for you, it
Yeah.
seems like it is. Yeah. So, but so then, how does that mean it's movable then? If your sense of identity, you defend that identity. So how does it move? How do you like? How can someone get you to like something new or to dislike something or?
I don't think anyone can really get me to dislike something, but oh gosh. The thing with the movable identity, or at least the thing that I find to be movable with it, is just it's hard to explain. Like I know what I like, but it's hard to narrow that down into the concept of my identity. And what the
Okay.
concept of my identity is can be movable. Like for example, I was an engineering student. Now I'm not. That kind of thing. I don't know if that makes any sense.
So so you identified with being an engineering student. That was
Or at
part
least
of
that
your
was part of my
identity.
identity. Sure.
And is that something you valued, being an engineering student?
Yeah, actually.
Okay. And then when you stopped doing that, what was that? Was that like a shock to your identity?
Yeah, that's a good way of phrasing it.
Okay. And so then how do you deal with that kind of shock then?
Oh God, very gradually. Like
Okay.
it's been in the past couple of years that I really got over that. Like I think I can get over stuff relatively quickly compared to some other people, right? But it still took a few years to fully get over that initial shock.
We have a comment here, female and ENTP. I guess Flow State said her name is Brit.
Oh,
Um, she said
black and
black
white
and white
thinking,
thinking. So I wonder what she's meaning by that, black and white thinking.
masculine thinking,
I don't know.
like very rigid thinking, I guess.
Maybe, yeah. So okay, so your SE then is it also masculine? Your
Yes.
SE? Okay, so you're double masculine.
Mhm.
So you're very similar type then to Versavia, but I don't see you as being play last.
No.
No. So that's interesting. So it would play then be your second
Mhm.
animal? Okay, all right. So then you're a skib sort of thing.
Yeah.
Over gatherer.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm definitely a squirrel. Like the
Yeah.
squirrel would be my spirit animal. Just collecting all the things. They're mine. I gotta bury them somewhere. I'm not gonna share. Ah, fuck that shit. It's all mine.
I see. Okay. Then that would be the demon blast that you just want to gather.
Mhm.
Right. And so what do you do with all that information that you gather?
Oh God. Mostly nothing.
Okay.
Honestly, like it's just for me. It's just for my own enjoyment, for my own
Okay.
amusement.
And what about the play? How do you see the play coming?
Hmm. Most of the time, I have a hard time seeing it as ST play, but sometimes, especially if I'm having a conversation with like someone who's info dominant or someone who is like NTJ or SFP, I do see the ST coming out in the sense that like we're just providing facts at each other and we're trying to figure out how those pieces fit together in the moment.
Uh-huh. Right.
So in that sense, yeah, I can totally see the ST and the
Right.
NT combined because I mean, for me, I have Play Blast together.
Right. Well, I don't really see it too much come out at the moment, but a couple times during the interview, I've seen that TE come out and just smack, be like, "What are you doing?"
Fuck.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't.
No, it's fine. Yeah,
Okay.
it's also pretty smooth too because it's like it's the double deciding. So
Yeah.
it's not like it won't come out just to and just like I see like a lead TE or someone who's
Yeah.
maybe TE second, it would just be constantly there.
Mhm.
But since you're doing the double deciding, you're pulling it out when I guess it needs to be.
Mhm.
It's like a
Yeah,
tool
I
for
think
you.
the
It's like
T.
something you can use. Yeah.
Oh, what was that?
It's like a tool for you. It's something that you can use in order to, yeah, sort of
Yeah.
use against the tribe when you need it.
Yeah, definitely. It's not the ultimate demon in my life, for
Right.
sure.
So Can you tell me a little bit about some times when you were involved in the with the tribe and you needed to use that TE to maybe defend yourself, defend your identity in a
Hmm.
more serious matter?
I mean, interesting. The first thing that comes to mind is when I was very, very, very young. So my TE like was definitely more of a demon back then.
Right.
But ultimately, when I used to be a relatively like solitary child, like I just wanted to be in my room all day. I just wanted to play with my Barbies. I just wanted to be in my head, just doing whatever I wanted to do, right? So I would constantly be in my room, and whenever someone decided to come unannounced, I would just literally kick them out. So the masculinity with the tribe definitely came out there in the sense that, hey, leave me alone. I want to be alone. Just defending the little FI girl.
Right.
I don't know that I was defending my identity necessarily, but I was definitely defending what I wanted to do.
Right. So it was what you wanted to do, that FI.
Mhm.
Um, uh, what happens if you don't get your way in things? Does the TI also come out? TE also come out to help you get your way?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I will come up with reasons as to why you shouldn't make me do what you want to do.
Okay,
And
then.
it essentially boils down to you will regret it because I will be a fucking bitch if you don't let me do what I want to do. You
Right,
know?
and that's the freedom there too. Then, like
Yeah.
the resisting control.
Hmm.
Okay. And so then after that, you go to blast, I guess, because I don't see you as blast last.
No, not blast
Right.
last.
You're blast last.
I'm not blast last actually.
Oh, you're not. Okay. Okay. All right. So then that's sleep last.
Mhm.
Right. Okay. Now, what about planning for the future? Is that something that you see as something that's been hurting your life? Something that it's hard for you to do?
It's not hard for me to plan. Like I can ideate a vision that I want for myself in the future, and I can ideate like the steps that I need to take along the way. The really difficult part is actually following through with the plan.
Sticking to the plan.
Yes, that is actually the biggest challenge in my life. Sticking to any plan that I have.
Do you see it also as like a very feminine plan, like a
Yes.
very loose?
Yes.
Yeah.
The poor and I has no fucking chance. Like
Right.
if I get distracted by anything in the moment, that thing in the moment all of a sudden takes priority.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, the feminine and I, the poor thing.
So that's like the squirrel basically seeing the shiny object and abandoning the plan, sort of thing. Yeah.
Oh, it's
Right.
embarrassing, but yes. Ah,
So
yeah.
so like you're laughing. Is there a funny story around that you can tell us?
Not a funny story. It's just an analogy that I came up with at some point that I think this actually applies to every EP out there, but essentially living your life looking down, collecting new coins, new coins, new coins. And if you're smart, you will design your life in such a way that you will always be able to get even more coins. Like
Hmm.
this coin that you collect will enable you to get even more coins in the future because that's what you want, right?
Right.
But at some point, you look up and you see mountains upon mountains upon mountains of fucking shiny coins. And you realize that you will never get to them all.
Uh-huh.
So all of a sudden it dawns on you that you've been going literally everywhere and nowhere at exactly the same time.
Right.
And that is terrifying.
Do you find that most of your plans are aimed at increasing your options and increasing your freedom?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Is
That's
is it
actually
hard for you?
the reason why I went to the specific field that I'm in right now. That's actually why I chose data science, because
Okay.
data science does give you plenty of options of where to use your skills.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
So would it be harder for you to narrow down and eliminate options?
It is hard to narrow
Okay.
down, but I am finding as I go along that things just naturally narrow down for you.
So we
I
have
feel her.
Sheila
Yeah,
here.
thanks, Sheila.
Yeah, she's
I
an
know.
ISFP, so she's in your quadra,
Yeah, yeah.
right? Um, so tell me a little bit about that sleep. Do you ever slow down to process?
I think I've been doing it a lot more like over this past year. And
Yeah.
I think partly because that is something that I should do as per my type, right? Just slow down, take longer showers, try to meditate. I'm not very good at actually being able to consistently meditate, but I do try to incorporate that in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, I've been trying to.
Do you see that it helps you in a way when you do it?
Um, the meditation itself is really interesting again, because I don't know, it's an interesting way to get to know yourself because you're just sitting there, right? You're just being. And yet the thoughts that come into your mind as you're just being, just noticing that in and of itself can be kind of illuminating. You don't even have to ruminate. You just have to pay attention to what your thoughts are. That's the whole point of meditation, right?
Okay.
So yeah, it's
So
been interesting for sure.
so what kind of thoughts do you have? Can you share it with us? Are they too personal or are they like
Mm,
NI thoughts maybe?
they are in I thoughts, actually. They
Okay.
tend they tend to be about what I will do later today or what I think I might do like in the next week or over the next however long,
Uh-huh.
right? They do tend to be NI thoughts, actually.
And what about ruminating over your past?
Mm, no, I don't do that.
You don't do that.
No,
What
like
happens
my
if you went through something traumatic? Will it take you a while to go through it? Will you ruminate over it until you figure something out,
mm,
figure out a solution or something?
my version of ruminating over the past is essentially making up new scenarios for what could have happened. Like if I had done this, this would have been the result. So if that counts as ruminating, then sure, I might ruminate a bit over my past.
Okay, that's interesting. Um, t t what about self-control? I guess
Mm,
with desserts or with TV shows or with things like things that you to slow yourself down from gathering or I don't know, procrastinating, things like that. Do you,
that can be difficult, actually.
yeah?
Yeah, yeah.
What kind of things are more difficult than with your self-control?
Um, it typically gets really bad if there is something stressful coming up, and obviously I don't want to do it because it involves my demons, right? And yeah, it would be stressful because it would involve my demons. So I would procrastinate on that by just consuming,
Saving.
consuming YouTube. It's actually mostly that.
So what kind of things would be stressful then in those demons?
In those demons, um, a lot of the more theoretical classes that I'm taking do require more of the NT. Like they do require taking in the concepts, organizing them, making sense of them, and applying that to whatever problem I'm solving.
Right.
And this is embarrassing to admit, but I find that I can't necessarily do that for long periods of time. Like essentially, I need breaks. Like
Okay.
I can do it. It's not that I'm like that's stupid or anything. It's just I need breaks, and it's stressful when I'm doing it because in my mind I'm insecure that oh my god I'm not doing it right. So yeah, I procrastinate on that stuff by just watching YouTube all day.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And y- are you able to end up doing it like do you find that maybe it's more difficult for you to end up doing it right than other people or it's just that you don't want to devote the time to it?
I don't want to devote the time.
If you did devote the time then it's easy enough for you to get things like everyone else sort of thing?
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, okay. And so what happened with the engineering? Why did you leave engineering then? Was it because of that?
It was because of that insecurity, yeah. And I just did not devote the time that I needed to actually, do well in my classes. So I ended up not doing well.
Right.
And yeah, that did a number to my self-esteem for sure.
Hmm.
Because I was actually tying my sense of self-worth um to my intelligence, pretty much. My intelligence or lack thereof. So when yeah, it's weird with the whole intelligence thing, like
Yeah, that is
tying your
weird.
self-worth to that, or just tying your self-worth to any one, like, not concept, to any one trait. Because if you find that either other people are better at you than that, or you're not as good as you think you are, yeah, that can really shatter your sense of self-worth.
Yeah, I'm trying to see where that comes from, because like
Okay.
the insecurity about intelligence is something that TI users and FE users sort of have.
I
Um, and
actually,
I'm and I'm what I'm
I'm
seeing. Sorry, I just want to say. So then there's
okay.
the whole thing with TE users, that they're competitive. I guess SE as well. That they're
Mhm.
competitive and they want to be better than someone else as well. So I'm wondering, maybe that's where it's coming from. Maybe you can share some insight.
Um, the thing that I have narrowed it down to is, I mean, this is just my own personal theory, like as of right now, but I suspect the men in my family are all TI users.
I see.
Yeah, they're
Ah,
all
and it's the
TI, like say
value.
they're TI, say whatever, right? And
They
I've
value
noticed that,
intelligence.
yes, yes,
Right.
like whenever they, like I noticed whenever a TE user calls you stupid, it's not personal. Because
Right.
hey, it's not that you're stupid, it's that your idea is stupid, you can change your idea. But when a
Uh-huh.
TI user calls you stupid, it's very personal.
Right. Yeah.
Like, oh
Because
my
they
God,
can't change. It's not their idea is them.
yeah,
So when you call them
yeah,
stupid, you're saying that their identity is stupid.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. With the TIs, essentially, the message that I got when I was very young was essentially, you have no worth if you're stupid.
Right.
Yeah. So, um,
So it's an associated value. It's not an innate value. It's not inherent.
yeah, I don't think it's inherent. I think
Uh-huh.
it is something that was influenced by outside of myself, and I
Right.
just internalized it.
Uh-huh. And so do you value intelligence as
Yes,
a social value then? Okay.
a
As
social
an
value.
SF,
I would
like
actually
an
say as
SF
a
value.
personal value.
Right. Yeah, okay. A
Yeah,
personal value. FI.
social value. Yeah,
Interesting.
I don't have F either.
Right. Yeah, yeah. That's interesting. Do you have anything you want to say about your type, maybe that other people might want to hear, something that maybe we glossed over?
Hmm. Honestly, I would just say what Jocko Willing has been saying for however long he's been saying this. But when ESFPs actually get consistent about any one thing, they become masters.
Yeah.
Like they truly do become legends.
Okay.
So, as a tip for ESFPs to become legends, you just gotta stay consistent.
And and how about you? Have you found a way to become consistent?
Oh my God, I'm still trying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you get that FI on board, is it easier?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you have any tips on how to get an FI on board with
Oh
a
God.
task?
Hmm. I actually don't, because it was such a gradual process that I'm still trying to process how I even got on board to begin with. You
Right.
know? Yeah.
When you said you were identifying as an engineer, saying I am an engineering student, is that a way to get yourself on board with it as well?
Hmm. Actually, no, that was just something that like that I took on for myself. It's not necessarily like I think I had already been on board by the time I became an engineering student, if that makes
I
any
see.
sense.
Okay. Do you have anything you want to promote, a YouTube channel or a charity or something?
Not right now, no.
No. Okay. Cool. Awesome. Anyway, thank you so much for coming out, Elizabeth. It was nice chatting.
Yeah, you too.
Yeah. Have a good one.
Yeah, you too. Bye.
Bye, YouTube.